They found Marcus Webb's body at the base of Blackridge Ridge on November 3rd, 2023. The medical examiner ruled it a fall, accidental death, case closed. But Marcus was an experienced climber, 15 years on those trails. He knew every foothold, every dangerous edge, and the autopsy revealed something the family was never told publicly. His body showed signs of a 200-foot fall. He was found at mile marker 8, where the trail is completely flat. 3 weeks before he died, Marcus called the Park Service 14 times. Each call, the same message. Something's on the trail. You need to close it. They didn't listen. 5 people have vanished on this trail in the last 18 months. Marcus was the first body they actually found. This is the story they don't want you to know. Welcome back to the channel. Before we begin, I need to know, how are you holding up tonight? If you're here for the first time, welcome. You found a place where we don't shy away from the stories that keep people awake. Here's what I recommend. Get comfortable. Turn on that fan, grab a blanket, maybe brew some tea. You're going to be here for a while, and what you're about to hear, you'll want to be somewhere you feel safe. I also want to hear from you as we go through this. Have you ever felt watched in the wilderness? Ever heard something in the forest that you couldn't explain? Drop your experiences in the comments. This community has helped piece together patterns before, and your story might be the missing piece we need. Now, I need to warn you about something. This investigation took me 8 months. I've spoken to rangers who refuse to go on record, families who've been silenced by legal threats, and survivors who haven't slept properly since they walked that trail. The footage I'm about to describe was given to me on the condition that I never reveal the source. The Park Service denies its existence. So let me be clear. Blackridge Trail is real. The people in this story are real. And what's happening there is still happening. Let's begin. October 17th, 2023. 2:15 p.m. Sarah Chen kissed her husband goodbye and drove to Blackridge Trailhead with her dog, a 3-year-old golden retriever named Copper. She was an experienced hiker, logged over 300 miles that year alone. She knew to check the weather, light rain forecast for late afternoon, and she planned to be back by 5 p.m. By 7 p.m., her husband called park rangers. By 9 p.m., search and rescue was on the mountain. By midnight, they'd found her car in the parking lot, keys still in the ignition, driver's door slightly open. They found Copper at 6 a.m. the next morning, 3 miles down the mountain, on the opposite side from the trail. The dog was soaking wet, shaking, and refused to go near the tree line. When they tried to lead him back toward the trail, he became violent, something he'd never done before. Search teams covered 40 square miles over the next 6 days. They found nothing. No clothing, no backpack, no phone, no body. Sarah Chen vanished somewhere between mile marker 7 and mile marker 9 on Blackridge Trail during a light rainstorm in broad daylight. But here's what the official report doesn't mention. 3 months later, a different hiker found Sarah's camera wedged between rocks at mile marker 8. Water damaged, but the SD card was intact. The last photo she took was time-stamped 4:47 p.m. It shows the trail ahead of her, rain starting to fall, trees lining both sides. In the right tree line, partially obscured by branches about 40 yards away, there's a figure. Tall, unnaturally tall. The proportions are wrong. Limbs too long, torso too narrow. It's standing completely motionless among the trees. Photo analysts confirmed the image wasn't doctored, but here's what kept the police investigator awake. Sarah took 47 photos that day. In the previous photo, taken 23 seconds earlier, that spot in the tree line was empty. Whatever moved into that position did it in less than half a minute, completely silently, while Sarah was looking at her camera screen. And according to Copper's veterinary records, the dog returned with a stress-induced heart condition. The vet's notes include an unusual observation. extreme auditory sensitivity, flinches at sounds outside normal frequency range. Sarah's husband still leaves the porch light on every night, but Sarah Chen wasn't the first. When I started researching this case, I thought Sarah's disappearance was tragic, but isolated. Then I found the pattern. I spoke with Ranger Thomas Whitmore, 23 years with the National Park Service, stationed at Blackridge for the last decade. He agreed to speak with me off record, away from the ranger station. We met at a diner 30 miles from the park. He brought files that should have been in the park's official records. Files that, according to the database, don't exist. 5 disappearances, 18 months, all on Blackridge Trail between mile markers 7 and 9. Jennifer Acosta, March 2022. Experienced trail runner. Vanished during evening run. Light drizzle reported. David Park, July 2022. Hiking with his teenage son. Son went ahead, turned back to find father gone. Heavy rain. Michael Chen, February 2023. No relation to Sarah. Solo hiker. Last seen by another hiker at mile 7. Rain began shortly after. Amanda Reeves, June 2023. Camping with friends. Left tent at dawn to watch sunrise. Light rain overnight. Never returned. Sarah Chen, October 2023. You already know her story. 5 people. All experienced outdoors enthusiasts. All during or immediately before rainfall. Ranger Whitmore told me something the official reports don't include. He leaned forward, hands shaking slightly, and said, "Every single one of them was last seen between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. Every single one vanished when visibility was reduced. Rain, fog, dusk. And every search team reported the same thing. The trail feels different between mile 7 and 9. Sounds don't carry the way they should. Your radio crackles. Your compass needle drifts. Wildlife won't go near it when it's raining." I asked him why the trail wasn't closed. He looked at me for a long moment, then said, "We recommended closure after the 3rd disappearance. Request was denied from regional office. We submitted again after Sarah Chen. Same answer. Insufficient evidence of persistent danger." Then he told me something that made my blood run cold. "There's a sound the search teams hear sometimes, when it's raining on that section of trail. A tapping, rhythmic, like someone knocking on tree trunks in a pattern." He pulled out a recording device. "One of our teams captured this last November. We were searching for Sarah Chen, mile marker 8, heavy rain." The recording plays for 40 seconds. Rain on microphone, footsteps, heavy breathing. Then, clear as anything. Tap, 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 tap. Wood on wood, deliberate, moving through the forest parallel to the team. We thought it was another search team signaling us. We called out. No response. The tapping continued for 15 minutes, always staying about 50 yards away, always matching our pace. When we checked, no other teams were on the trail that day, just us. Ranger Whitmore hasn't hiked mile markers 7 through 9 in over a year. He plans routes around that section now. When I asked him what he thinks is out there, he looked at his coffee and said, "I don't know, but I know it's watching, and I know it waits for the rain." 5 disappearances, 0 bodies recovered, except Marcus Webb, 3 weeks after this interview. But one person survived an encounter on that trail. And what he saw, what he drew for police, that's when this stopped being a missing persons case. Marcus Webb was a wilderness guide. He'd summited peaks across 3 continents, survived avalanches in the Rockies, navigated whiteout conditions in the Cascades. He was not someone who spooked easily. August 19th, 2023, 2 months before Sarah Chen disappeared, Marcus was hiking Blackridge Trail solo, training run for an upcoming expedition. He reached mile marker 8 at approximately 5:30 p.m. Light rain had just begun. This is based on the statement he gave to park rangers the next day, and the interview he recorded on his phone 3 days later. an interview his wife gave to me after his death. In his own words, Marcus described what happened. "I've hiked that trail probably 50 times. I know every turn, every elevation change. But that evening, something felt off from the moment I hit mile marker 7. The temperature dropped. Not gradually, just dropped. I went from sweating to seeing my breath in about 30 seconds. Then the rain started, and that's when I heard it. Tapping on the trees. At first I thought it was rain hitting hollow bark, but it was too rhythmic, too intentional. Tap, 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 tap. Pattern, repeating every 20 seconds or so. Stopped walking. The tapping stopped. I started walking again. Tapping resumed, but now it was ahead of me, maybe 40 yards into the tree line on my right. I'm not easily rattled, but something primal kicked in. Every instinct I had said, turn around. So I did. That's when I realized the tapping was now behind me. I walked faster. The tapping matched my pace. I moved to the left side of the trail. The tapping moved to my left. I glanced into the trees, and that's when I saw it. Movement. High up. Above where a person should be able to reach without climbing. It was elongated. I can't describe it better than that. The shape was wrong. Arms, or what I thought were arms, too long. Joints that bent in places joints shouldn't be. And it was keeping pace with me, effortlessly. Moving between trees like it was made for it. I started running. The tapping became faster, louder, more aggressive. I could hear branches breaking above me, things landing on the trail behind me. I ran for maybe 10 minutes straight, until I reached mile marker 6. The tapping stopped. Just stopped. The temperature went back to normal. The rain felt like regular rain again. I turned around. Nothing. Empty trail. Just trees and rain. But I felt it. Still watching. Waiting to see if I'd go back. Marcus made it to his car. He called the ranger station immediately, reported what he'd experienced. They told him it was probably a bear. Maybe elk. The mind plays tricks in low visibility. Marcus Webb didn't accept that explanation. Over the next 2 weeks, he called the Park Service 14 times. He sent emails with detailed maps marking where he'd encountered whatever it was. He demanded the trail be closed pending investigation. The Park Service filed his reports as wildlife sighting, non-threatening. But Marcus did something else. Something the police kept quiet until after his death. He drew what he saw in those trees. The sketch shows a figure roughly 8 to 9 feet tall, emaciated but powerful looking. The limbs are disproportionately long, with additional joints, elbows that bend backward, fingers that extend like branches. The torso is elongated, almost insectoid. But the worst part, the detail that made the responding officer's hands shake when I interviewed her, the head, elongated, eyeless, but with what Marcus described as too many openings where the face should be. He wrote beneath the sketch, "It was listening to me. I could feel it listening. This is how it hunts." The officer who took his report submitted it through official channels. It was flagged, reviewed, and classified as witness psychological distress. No credible threat identified. 3 weeks after that final report, Marcus Webb went back to Blackridge Trail. His wife said he was obsessed. He needed proof. He needed to make people believe him. On November 3rd, 2023, hikers found his body at mile marker 8. Official cause of death, accidental fall, massive, trauma consistent with 200-foot vertical drop. Except there are no cliffs at mile marker 8. The trail is flat. The medical examiner noted, unexplained lacerations on victim's torso, pattern inconsistent with fall injuries. Those findings were redacted from the public autopsy report. Marcus Webb's final phone call to the ranger station came at 4:52 p.m. on the day he disappeared. The recording was never released, but I obtained a transcript. His last words to the dispatcher were, "I'm at mile marker 8. It's starting to rain. I can hear the tapping again. It's all around me. I need you to send." The call cut off. Rangers reached his last known position within 35 minutes. They found his phone on the trail, screen shattered. They found his backpack, torn open, contents scattered. They found tracks leading off trail. Human tracks at first. Then, distorted. Dragged. Ending abruptly at the base of a tree. Marcus Webb's body was found 200 yards away, at the bottom of a ravine that doesn't exist on any map. At his funeral, his wife approached me. She pressed a USB drive into my hand. "He was trying to warn people," she said. "Don't let them say he was crazy. He saw something real." That USB drive contained his final interview, recorded 3 days before his death. His voice shaking, but determined. "If you're watching this, I'm probably dead. And if I'm dead, it means I was right. Something hunts on Blackridge Trail. It waits for rain. It watches for lone hikers. And it's patient. It's so patient." Marcus Webb was right, and he paid for that knowledge with his life. But he wasn't the only one who saw it and lived. There are others. And their stories confirm what Marcus tried to tell us. Whatever walks those trees between mile markers 7 and 9, it's still there. Still watching. Still hunting. If you've hiked Blackridge Trail, if you've heard the tapping, if you've felt watched on a rainy trail anywhere in the Pacific Northwest, leave your story in the comments below. These accounts matter. They build the picture of what we're dealing with. And if you're planning a hike soon, maybe skip the rainy days. After Marcus Webb's death, I put out a call on hiking forums, local Facebook groups, and through ranger contacts. I asked a simple question. Has anything unusual happened to you on Blackridge Trail? I expected maybe a dozen responses. I received over 80. Most were easily explained. Wildlife encounters, weather scares, navigation errors. But 7 accounts stood out. 7 people who experienced something they couldn't rationalize. 3 of them agreed to go on record. What they describe, it confirms Marcus Webb wasn't hallucinating. Jessica Martinez runs ultramarathons. She's completed 100-mile races through mountain wilderness, often solo. Fear is not something that typically registers for her. Until May 2023, Jessica was doing a training run on Blackridge Trail. Midday, cloudy but no rain yet. She planned to run to mile 9 and back. This is her account. I hit mile marker 7 around 1 p.m. Weather was overcast, gray, but visibility was fine. Good running conditions. I remember thinking the forest felt quiet. Too quiet. No birds, no squirrels, nothing. Then I saw the trees ahead of me, maybe 60, 70 yards, and something looked off. The branches. There were so many dead branches in the canopy on the right side of the trail. Dozens of them, all clustered together in this unnatural way. I'm a biologist by training. I know what die-off looks like, what storm damage looks like. This wasn't that. I stopped running, just stood there, looking at these branches. And I swear to you, they were arranged in a pattern, angular, geometric almost, like something had woven them together. I watched for maybe 20 minutes. I don't know why I couldn't look away. Something in my gut told me to pay attention. Then a cloud shifted. Just a little more light came through. Every single one of those branches moved. Not like wind, not like swaying. They retracted, pulled back into the canopy, and I could see, just for a second, that they weren't branches at all. They were limbs. Dozens of elongated limbs, all clustered together, all watching the trail. I took one step backward. Every single one of those limbs adjusted, reoriented toward me. I ran, didn't look back. Didn't stop until I reached my car. When I got home, I checked my running watch. It recorded the distance, elevation, heart rate, all normal data. Except for one thing. My heart rate between mile 7 and 8 was 186 beats per minute. For context, my maximum ever recorded was 100 during a mountain summit sprint. I wasn't running between mile 7 and 8. I was standing still, watching those branches. My body knew I was in danger before my mind did. Jessica Martinez hasn't returned to Blackridge Trail. She still runs ultras, still trains in remote wilderness. But when I asked if she'd ever go back, she looked at me and said, "I can't unsee what I saw. Those weren't branches, and there were too many. Whatever that thing is, it's big." 3 friends, Ryan Cho, Melissa, Torres, and Jake Everett, decided to camp at mile marker 6 in April 2023. Just inside the safe zone, they thought. They were experienced campers. They'd done this route before. The forecast called for light rain overnight. They set up camp at 6 p.m., cooked dinner, settled in. Rain began around 9 p.m. What happened that night left all 3 of them changed. This is Ryan Cho's testimony. The rain wasn't heavy, just steady. We were inside the tent, talking, playing cards by lantern light. Around 10 p.m., Melissa said she heard something outside. We stopped talking to listen. Footsteps, circling the tent. But they were wrong. Too light to be human. Too deliberate to be an animal. And the pattern, they'd circle clockwise 3 times, stop for maybe 30 seconds, then circle counterclockwise 3 times. Over and over. Jake whispered, "Maybe it's a deer." But we all knew it wasn't. I checked my phone. 10:17 p.m. The footsteps continued for hours. We stopped talking, just listened, trying to figure out what was out there. Around midnight, we heard something new. A dragging sound. Wet. Heavy. Like something being pulled through mud. It would drag for 5, 6 seconds, then stop. Then resume from a different direction. Whatever was making that sound, it was circling us too. Melissa started crying, quietly. Jake held her. I had my knife out, hand shaking, knowing it wouldn't help if something came through that tent. At 3:47 a.m., I checked my phone. Everything stopped. Just stopped. The footsteps, the dragging, even the rain seemed to lighten. We didn't sleep. We sat there until sunrise, not saying a word. When light came, we unzipped the tent. The trees around our campsite, every single tree in a perfect 30-foot radius, had deep scratches carved into the bark. Vertical scratches, parallel, 4 lines, each about an inch apart. They started about 9 feet up the trunk and dragged down to about 6 feet. Whatever made those marks was tall and strong. The scratches cut through bark into hardwood. We measured them. Jake took photos. The marks were fresh, sap still wet, wood still pale. Here's what made us pack up and leave within 10 minutes. We heard all that circling, hours of footsteps, hours of that dragging sound. We heard nothing make those scratches. Those trees were carved while we sat in that tent, while we listened, and we heard nothing. Not a scrape, not a scratch, not a sound. Whatever did that, it wanted us to see it in the morning. It wanted us to know it had been right there all night, and we never heard it. We reported it to park rangers. They said it was bear markings, territorial behavior. Bears don't carve parallel lines. Bears don't move silently. And bears don't make patterns. I visited that campsite 2 months later with a wildlife biologist. The scratch marks were still there. The biologist examined them for 20 minutes, took samples, measured depth and spacing. His conclusion: no known animal in this region makes marks like this. The precision is unnatural. Ryan, Melissa, and Jake no longer camp together. Ryan told me they haven't spoken since that night. "We can't talk about it without remembering," he said. and remembering makes it real again. David Armstrong is a professional storm photographer. He chases severe weather for a living. Tornadoes, hurricanes, lightning systems. He's seen nature at its most violent. But what his camera captured on Blackridge Trail in July 2023 made him quit storm chasing entirely. David was photographing an incoming thunderstorm from mile marker 8.5. He set up his camera on a tripod, shooting time-lapse, one frame every 2 seconds for 90 minutes as the storm rolled in. He saw nothing unusual while he was there. It was only when he reviewed the footage at home that he realized he hadn't been alone. This is David's account. I got home, uploaded the 2,700 images to my computer, and started processing them. Standard stuff, adjusting exposure, checking composition, picking the best shots for my portfolio. Then I noticed something in frame 47, in the tree line to my left, maybe 40 yards away. A shape, tall, vertical. It stood out because everything else in that frame was horizontal. Branches, fallen logs, underbrush. I zoomed in. The resolution was high, professional equipment, and I could see detail. It looked humanoid, but stretched, elongated proportions. It was partially obscured by branches, but I could make out a torso, limbs. I thought maybe it was another photographer, someone else shooting the storm. Then I checked frame 48. 2 seconds later, it was closer, maybe 5 feet closer. I went through the sequence, frame by frame. In every single frame from 47 to 94, that's 94 consecutive photos over 3 minutes, that figure appears. And in every frame, it's closer. Frame 47, 40 yards away. Frame 60, 35 yards. Frame 75, 28 yards. Frame 94, 15 yards away. I was standing right there for 90 minutes. I never saw it, never heard it, never sensed anything. My camera, shooting every 2 seconds, captured something moving toward me, steadily, deliberately, closing distance. And here's what keeps me awake. In frame 94, the last frame where it appears, it's 15 yards from my position. I can see detail now. The limbs are wrong. Too many joints, bent at angles that don't make anatomical sense. The head is elongated, eyeless, but with openings along the sides. In frame 95, it's gone. Just gone. That frame was taken 2 seconds after frame 94. I packed up my equipment about 30 seconds after frame 95. I remember feeling suddenly cold, suddenly exposed. I grabbed my tripod and left. According to my timestamps, I was there for another 20 minutes after frame 95. Whatever was in those trees, it got within 15 yards of me, then disappeared. I analyzed those images professionally. No motion blur, no distortion, no evidence of tampering. I sent them to colleagues, photographers, image analysts, even a forensic specialist. Everyone agreed. Something was there, something physical, something that moved closer every 2 seconds for 3 minutes straight. And in frame 87, you can see something that made me quit storm chasing. The head, if you can call it that, is turned directly toward my camera, directly toward me. It knew I was there. It knew I was watching the storm, not the tree line. And it closed the distance while I was distracted. David sent me those images. I've analyzed them myself. In frame 94, at maximum zoom, you can see one more detail David didn't mention in his testimony. In the spots where eyes should be, there's nothing, just smooth surface. But along the elongated head, there are 6 openings, symmetrical, 3 on each side. A bioacoustic specialist I consulted said those openings resemble auditory organs in certain predatory species. If those are ears, she told me, whatever this is, can pinpoint sound location with extreme precision. It would hear a heartbeat from 50 yards away, hear breathing, hear footsteps through rain. David Armstrong no longer hikes. no longer photographs outdoors. When I asked him if he'd ever go back to Blackridge Trail, he said, "In frame 94, I can see what it was doing. It wasn't approaching me. It was positioning itself, getting an angle. If I'd stayed 10 more minutes, if the storm hadn't made me feel uncomfortable and leave early." He didn't finish the sentence. 3 testimonies, 3 different experiences, but they all described the same behavioral pattern: observation, patience, calculated approach. This isn't random predation. This is intelligent hunting. And the more I researched, the more I realized this didn't start in 2022. This has been happening for decades. I spent 4 months in regional archives, library basements, and historical societies. I wasn't looking for legends or folklore. I was looking for missing persons reports, unexplained disappearances, patterns. What I found was disturbing. Blackridge Trail was established in 1967. Before that, it was a logging road. Before that, indigenous hunting grounds. Between 1967 and 2025, there have been 23 documented disappearances on or near that trail. 23 people who entered those woods and never came out. The Park Service will tell you that's normal for a heavily trafficked wilderness area. Accidents happen. People get lost. But when I mapped those disappearances, every single one occurred between what we now call mile markers, 6 and 9. Every single one occurred during or immediately before rainfall. Every single one occurred between April and November, the wet season. I found newspaper clippings from 1972. A hiker named Robert Chen, no relation to Sarah, vanished during a storm. Search teams found his camping gear scattered across the trail. No body recovered. 2 college students disappeared while hiking after a rainstorm. 1 backpack found hanging from a tree branch, 15 feet off the ground. No explanation how it got there. An experienced ranger named Patricia Volkoff went missing during a routine patrol. Light rain. Her radio transmitted for 3 hours after she was last seen. Just static and wind. When they found her radio, it was still on, battery dead, sitting in the middle of the trail at mile marker 8. Patricia Volkoff was never found. A family of 4. Only the father's body recovered. Cause of death: massive trauma. Medical examiner noted injuries inconsistent with fall or animal attack. The pattern holds for 58 years. But the disappearances aren't the only pattern. I interviewed local indigenous communities, 3 tribes with historical ties to this land. None of them have a specific legend about a creature in those mountains. No name. No traditional story. But they all have warnings. An elder from the Stillwater tribe, who asked not to be identified, told me this: "Our people didn't hunt in that valley when rain fell. We didn't have a story about why. We just knew. It was teaching passed down. When the rain comes to that place, you leave. You don't ask why, you leave." He called it the place where rain doesn't fall the same. I asked what that meant. "The rain hides things," he said. "Things that were here long before we were. Things that learned to use the rain the way we use fire. To hunt, to hide, to feed." I asked if his people ever saw what was there. He looked at me for a long time, then said, "The ones who saw it didn't come back to tell us what they saw." I needed more than folklore. I needed data. I contacted the National Park Service and requested wildlife camera footage from the Blackridge area. After 6 weeks and multiple Freedom of Information Act requests, I received 14 months of footage. Or rather, I received most of it. Footage from cameras positioned between mile markers 7 and 9 showed significant electronic interference. The data was corrupted. Timestamps jumped. Frames missing. Video quality degraded to the point of being unusable. But only during rainfall. On clear days, the cameras functioned perfectly. Crystal clear images of deer, elk, birds, hikers. The moment rain began, the footage became distorted. I sent the corrupted files to a digital forensics expert. Her analysis concluded, this isn't typical water damage or equipment malfunction. The interference pattern suggests exposure to low-frequency electromagnetic fields, similar to what's observed near geological fault lines or areas with high mineral content. I researched geological surveys of the area. No fault lines, no unusual mineral deposits, no natural explanation for electromagnetic interference. Then I found something buried in a 1989 research paper by a geophysicist studying unexplained phenomena in wilderness areas. He'd recorded infrasound readings, sound frequencies below human hearing range, at several national parks. Blackridge Trail showed anomalous readings, specifically at mile markers 7 through 9. Infrasound levels spiked during rainfall. Infrasound has documented effects on humans: anxiety, dread, feelings of being watched, visual hallucinations. But it's also used by predators. Tigers emit infrasound to paralyze prey. Elephants use it to communicate over vast distances. And some theoretical biologists believe unknown apex predators might weaponize infrasound to disorient and track prey. The researcher noted one more thing in his paper. Infrasound readings at this location don't match any known natural source. The frequency modulation suggests intentionality, as if the sound is being produced and directed, not simply occurring. He recommended further study. His grant application was denied. He died in 1991. His research was never continued, but his data remains, and it suggests something that's been theorized but never proven. There might be something in those mountains that uses sound the way bats use echolocation. Something that has evolved to hunt in conditions where visual predators fail. Something that has learned to use the rain. I needed expert analysis. Someone who could look at this evidence objectively and tell me if I was connecting dots that weren't there. I contacted Dr. Elizabeth Navarro, a cryptozoologist and behavioral ecologist who spent 20 years studying unidentified predator behavior in North American wilderness. We met at her research office in Seattle. I brought everything: testimonies, photographs, historical data, audio recordings. She spent 6 hours reviewing the material. What she told me changed how I understood what's happening on Blackridge Trail. Dr. Navarro, thank you for agreeing to speak with me. Dr. Navarro, I need to be clear from the start. I can't definitively identify what's on that trail, but I can tell you what the behavioral patterns suggest. What do the patterns suggest? Dr. Navarro, you're dealing with an apex predator that has evolved specifically for the Pacific Northwest environment. Everything about the behavior you've documented indicates specialization, adaptation to exploit a specific ecological niche, which is, Dr. Navarro, ambush predation during precipitation events in densely forested terrain. This creature, or possibly multiple creatures, has evolved to hunt when visual predators are at a disadvantage. The rain. Dr. Navarro. Exactly. Rain masks sound, reduces visibility, lowers prey awareness. For most predators, that's a disadvantage. But if you've evolved to hunt specifically in those conditions, you have an advantage. Dr. Navarro, a significant one. Consider, humans rely heavily on vision and hearing. In rain, both are compromised. But if you have alternative sensory systems, enhanced auditory organs, perhaps chemical sensing, possibly even electroreception, you're not just unaffected by the rain, you're optimized for it. The testimonies mention silence, people not hearing it approach. Dr. Navarro, that's characteristic of ambush predators. Leopards move silently. Owls have specialized feathers that eliminate flight noise. An arboreal predator in a rainforest environment would absolutely evolve silent movement. But the tapping, that's not silent. Dr. Navarro. No, and that's what disturbs me most about this case. The tapping is intentional. It's not movement noise. It's communication or territory marking. Or what? Dr. Navarro. Or it's psychological warfare. Some predators vocalize to trigger fear responses in prey. Fear makes prey predictable, makes them run, makes them easy to track. You're saying this thing is smart enough to manipulate human psychology? Dr. Navarro. I'm saying the behavior indicates intelligence, problem solving, learning. These aren't random attacks. Look at your data. It targets lone hikers, avoids large groups, operates in specific terrain during specific weather conditions. That's sophisticated predatory behavior. Multiple witnesses describe different appearances, different proportions, different features. How do you explain that? Dr. Navarro. Two possibilities. First, you're dealing with multiple entities, a family group or small population, individual variation in size and appearance. That would actually support the apex predator theory. It would mean a breeding population, not a single anomaly. And the second possibility? Dr. Navarro. Perception alteration. The infrasound data you showed me is significant. High-intensity infrasound affects the human visual cortex. Witnesses might be seeing the same thing, but processing it differently based on their neurological response to the infrasound. That's terrifying in its own way. Dr. Navarro. It is, because it means this creature might be generating infrasound deliberately, using it as a weapon. I showed you the drawings. 12 different witnesses, 12 different encounters. You said they all drew the same eyes. Dr. Navarro. Yes, and that's what keeps me awake at night. Tell me about the eyes, Dr. Navarro. Every drawing shows the same feature. Large, dark, positioned on the sides of the head rather than forward-facing. That's not predator anatomy. Predators have forward-facing eyes for depth perception, for tracking moving prey. So what does that suggest? Dr. Navarro. Either this creature doesn't hunt visually at all, which aligns with the rain adaptation theory, or, Dr. Navarro, or those aren't eyes, they're something else. Sensory organs we don't have a framework for understanding. You studied the photographs David Armstrong captured. What did you see? Dr. Navarro. I saw a creature that shouldn't exist according to our current understanding of North American megafauna. The skeletal structure implied by those proportions, the elongated limbs, the additional joints, that's not mammalian, it's not reptilian, it's convergent evolution toward an arboreal lifestyle, but taken to an extreme we haven't documented before. How big do you think it is? Dr. Navarro. Based on the scale references in the photographs and the height of the tree scratches, 8 to 9 feet tall, possibly larger. Weight is harder to estimate, but given the lightness of footsteps reported and the ability to move through canopy, I'd guess 200 to 300 pounds. Extremely high strength-to-weight ratio. That's light for something that size. Dr. Navarro. Exactly, which suggests hollow or lightweight skeletal structure, like a bird, which would also explain the arboreal behavior. It's built to climb, to move through trees, to drop on prey from above. Dr. Navarro, is this a known species? Dr. Navarro. No. If this creature exists as described, it's undocumented. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. We discover new species every year. Large predators are rare, but the Pacific Northwest has millions of acres of unexplored wilderness. Do you believe the testimonies? Dr. Navarro. I believe these people experienced something real, whether it's a biological entity, a neurological phenomenon triggered by environmental factors, or something we don't have the framework to classify yet. I don't know. But I know this. The behavioral patterns are consistent. The fear is genuine, and people are dying. What would you tell someone planning to hike Blackridge Trail? Dr. Navarro, don't hike alone. Don't hike in rain. Don't hike at dusk. And if you hear tapping, leave immediately. Don't investigate. Don't document. Leave. And if they encounter it? Dr. Navarro, I interviewed 12 survivors. The ones who lived all did the same thing. They ran. They didn't confront it. They didn't try to understand it. They ran to populated areas and didn't stop until they reached safety. The ones who didn't run? Dr. Navarro. We're still finding some of them. Dr. Navarro's analysis confirmed what I'd suspected, but didn't want to believe. Whatever walks those mountains is real. It's intelligent, and it's still hunting. But one testimony would prove just how dangerous it really is. September 14th, 2023. Brandon Cole was 28 years old, a content creator who documented his hiking adventures for social media. He'd heard about the Blackridge Trail disappearances. He thought they were exaggerated. He decided to film an overnight trip through the haunted section of trail. He live-streamed the first 3 hours, posted updates to his followers, made jokes about finding Bigfoot. At 4:47 p.m., he reached mile marker 8. Rain began at 4:52 p.m. His live stream cut off at 5:03 p.m. Brandon made it back to the parking lot at 9:17 p.m. He was alone, disoriented, bleeding from lacerations on his arms and face. His GoPro was still recording. What that footage shows is the most documented encounter with the Blackridge predator we have. Brandon agreed to speak with me 2 months after the incident. He's since moved out of state. He doesn't hike anymore. This is his testimony, combined with analysis of the school recovered footage. The footage shows Brandon walking steadily up the trail, rain visible on the lens. He's narrating for his viewers. Okay guys, it's starting to rain. This is where things supposedly get weird. Let's see if anything happens. He's joking. Confident. At 4:54 p.m., you can hear it in the background. Tap. Tap, tap. Tap. Brandon doesn't notice at first. He's talking to the camera. At 4:56 p.m., he stops walking. Did you guys hear that? Hold on. He turns the camera toward the tree line. The tapping continues. Rhythmic, moving parallel to him. That's weird. Sounds like, I don't know, woodpecker maybe. He keeps walking. The tapping keeps pace. At 4:58 p.m., Brandon's voice changes. The humor is gone. Okay, that's definitely following me. That's not a woodpecker. The footage shows him walking faster. The tapping gets louder, closer. At 5 p.m., the tapping becomes footsteps. Not human footsteps. Too fast, too light. Moving through underbrush with no rustling, no branch breaking. Just rapid, deliberate footfalls. Brandon starts running. I ran. I didn't think. I just ran. The footsteps matched my pace, exactly, like it was playing with me. Then I heard it ahead of me, behind me, both sides. I stopped, turned in a circle, camera shaking. That's when I saw it. In the trees, maybe 20 yards away, moving through the branches like they weren't even there. It was tall, too tall, and thin, stretched out. The limbs were wrong, bent in places that don't make sense, and it was fast. I saw it move from one tree to another. No climbing, no jumping. It just transitioned, like it flowed through the canopy. Then it looked at me. I don't know how I knew it was looking. It didn't have eyes, not like ours. But I felt it. Felt its attention lock onto me. And I ran. The footage becomes chaotic. Running, breathing, rain pounding. The camera catches glimpses of the trail, trees, sky, ground. And then, at 5:07 p.m., it catches something else. A shape drops onto the trail behind Brandon, lands silently despite the height. The shape is massive, elongated. It stands for 3 seconds, perfectly still, then begins moving. Not running, not chasing. Following. Stalking. The footage shows Brandon reaching a switchback. He glances behind him, and the camera captures it clearly. The creature is 30 feet away, moving with unnatural fluidity, limbs extending, retracting, gripping trees and ground with equal ease. Brandon screams. The creature doesn't react. It just keeps coming. At 5:14 p.m., Brandon leaves the trail, crashes into underbrush. The camera shows dense forest, disorientation, panic. He's sobbing, begging for it to stop. The footage shows branches breaking behind him, something massive pushing through vegetation. At 5:19 p.m., the forest opens into a ravine. Brandon slides down, loses his footing, tumbles. The camera goes black for 6 seconds. When the video resumes, Brandon is at the bottom of the ravine. The camera is facing up toward where he fell. At the top of the ravine, silhouetted against the gray sky, it's standing there, watching. For 42 seconds, it doesn't move, just watches. Brandon doesn't move either. The camera is still recording, but he's frozen. You can hear his breathing, rapid, shallow, terrified. At 5:20 p.m., the creature tilts its head. The movement is wrong, too fluid, the angle too extreme. Then it makes a sound. The audio analysis I had done on this footage is disturbing. The sound starts low, clicking, rhythmic, like the tapping, but organic. Vocal. Then it shifts, rises in pitch, and becomes Brandon's voice. Help me. Someone help me. Perfect replication. Brandon's exact intonation. His terror. But Brandon isn't speaking. He's holding his breath, hand over his mouth. The creature is calling out in his voice. I heard myself, heard my voice coming from that thing. It said, help me. Someone help me. Then it said, it's okay. You can come up. It's gone. My voice. My exact voice. I stayed in that ravine. Didn't move. Didn't breathe. It kept talking. Kept using my voice. Saying things I might say. The trail is this way. I found the parking lot. Come on, we need to go. For maybe 10 minutes, it tried to make me come back up. When I didn't move, it stopped talking. The silence was worse. I could hear it moving, circling the ravine, testing different positions. Then I heard something that made me realize what was happening. It made another sound, different from my voice. A woman's voice, crying, calling for help. It was testing, trying different lures, seeing what would make me respond. When I still didn't move, it went quiet, completely quiet. I stayed in that ravine until I couldn't see anymore, until it was full dark. Then I heard rain again. Real rain, heavy, and I heard it leave. Heard something massive moving away through the forest. I waited another hour, then I climbed out. I didn't have a flashlight, didn't have a phone signal, just had to follow the trail markers in the dark. Every step, I thought it was behind me. Every shadow, every sound. I made it to the parking lot at 9:17 p.m. My watch said I'd been running for 20 minutes. The footage shows 4 hours and 14 minutes. I had Brandon's footage analyzed by 3 separate experts, a video forensics specialist, a behavioral ecologist, and a vocal analysis expert. Their findings were unanimous and disturbing. Video forensics. No evidence of tampering or editing. Metadata confirms continuous recording. Timestamps are accurate. Whatever is shown in this footage, it's real. Behavioral ecology. The stalking behavior indicates high intelligence. The creature maintained optimal pursuit distance, close enough to track prey, far enough to avoid confrontation. It used terrain strategically, cutting off escape routes. This is sophisticated predatory behavior. Vocal analysis. The mimicry is nearly perfect. Voice pattern analysis shows 97% accuracy to subject's vocal baseline. This level of mimicry requires either advanced audio playback, which is impossible given the wilderness setting, or biological vocal mimicry capability beyond anything documented in North American fauna. The alternating voices suggest the creature can store and reproduce multiple human vocal patterns. Recommendation: approach this as a legitimate predatory adaptation. Verbal luring. Similar to anglerfish, bioluminescence, or moth pheromone mimicry, but orders of magnitude more sophisticated. The expert added one more note. If this creature can mimic human voices after brief exposure, it suggests two things: exceptional auditory memory and a larynx, or vocal organ complex, enough to reproduce human speech patterns. This is not a primitive predator. This is an apex species with cognitive capabilities we're not prepared for. Brandon's footage was submitted to the Park Service with a formal request to close the trail. The response came 3 weeks later. Insufficient evidence of imminent danger. Wildlife encounter. Species unidentified. Trail remains open with weather advisories. I pressed for clarification, sent follow-up requests, submitted the expert analyses. The Park Service stopped responding. Then I received an anonymous email from an address that's since been deactivated. The subject line: "They know." They've always known. Attached were internal Park Service documents, incident reports dating back to 1978, ranger testimonies marked "Classified, do not distribute." Wildlife camera footage showing the same elongated figures in trees. And a memo from 2019, 4 years before Sarah Chen disappeared. The memo recommended immediate trail closure and further investigation into apex predator species, unknown classification, demonstrating hostile behavior toward human presence. The recommendation was denied by regional administration. Reason cited: economic impact on tourism, insufficient evidence to justify closure, continue monitoring. They knew something was hunting on that trail, and they left it open. 23 people over 58 years, 5 in the last 18 months alone, and they did nothing. I moved to Arizona 2 months after this happened. Desert, no forests, no rain. I still hear it sometimes, when it rains. My own voice calling from outside. My therapist says it's PTSD, auditory hallucinations. But I know what I heard. I know what mimicked me. And I know it let me go. That's what keeps me awake. It could have killed me, in that ravine, in the dark. I was helpless, but it let me go. Why? My therapist doesn't have an answer. Dr. Navarro had a theory. She said apex predators sometimes release prey that aren't worth the energy expenditure, or prey that might be dangerous to engage with directly. But she also said something else, something that made me realize I'll never feel safe again. She said some predators let prey go, so they can follow them back to populated areas, so they can learn where humans live, what we sound like, how we behave. 3 weeks after I got back, there were reports of hikers hearing voices on trails 30 miles from Blackridge. Voices calling for help. Voices luring people off established paths. I was the first documented case of it, mimicking someone who survived. What if I taught it how? Brandon's question haunts this investigation. What if it's learning? What if each encounter teaches it more about human behavior, human voices, human psychology? The disappearances at Blackridge Trail might not be isolated incidents. They might be practice. I spent the next month researching missing persons cases across the Pacific Northwest, filtering for specific criteria: disappearances during rainfall, forested areas, experienced hikers, late afternoon timing. I found 67 cases matching those parameters across Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. 67 people who vanished in similar conditions. Not all of them can be connected to Blackridge, but the pattern is there. And according to Dr. Navarro, if we're dealing with a breeding population, a species, not an individual, their range could span hundreds of miles. Blackridge Trail might not be the only hunting ground. It might just be the only one we've noticed. Marcus Webb died trying to warn people. Sarah Chen vanished, trying to document a beautiful trail. Brandon Cole barely escaped with his life. And somewhere in those mountains, between mile markers 7 and 9, something is still watching the trail, still waiting for the rain, still hunting. But the most disturbing part of this investigation wasn't the testimonies, or the footage, or the Park Service cover-up. It was what happened 3 weeks ago, when I went to Blackridge Trail myself. Before we continue, I need you to understand something. I'm a researcher, a documentarian. I don't take unnecessary risks. But after 8 months of investigating this story, I had to see the trail for myself. I had to know if what I'd been documenting was real. I chose a clear day, mid-morning. I planned to hike to mile marker 8, document the area, and leave before afternoon. I followed every precaution Dr. Navarro recommended. It didn't matter. What I experienced on that trail, what I captured on my recorder, that's what we're going to examine next. And I need to warn you, this is where the investigation became personal. This is where I stopped being an observer and became a witness. October 28th, 2023. 2 weeks after Sarah Chen disappeared. 1 week after Marcus Webb was found dead. 4 amateur paranormal investigators decided they would succeed where park rangers had failed. They would document what was hunting on Blackridge Trail. Their names were Jordan Mitchell, Sarah Park, Michael Torres, and Rebecca Chen. Rebecca was Sarah Chen's younger sister. She wanted answers. She wanted proof. She wanted to understand what took her sister. The team spent 3 weeks preparing. They studied every testimony, analyzed Marcus Webb's sketches, reviewed Brandon Cole's footage frame by frame. They equipped themselves with military-grade night vision, thermal cameras, audio recorders, GPS trackers, and satellite communicators. They waited for the forecast. Heavy rain predicted for October 28th, beginning around 3 p.m. They planned to reach mile marker 9 by 4 p.m., right in the predator's active window. 3 of them made it back. Michael Torres did not. I obtained their footage from 2 sources. Rebecca Chen, who provided her personal camera recordings before she stopped responding to my messages, and the Park Service evidence locker, through a source who cannot be identified. What I'm about to describe is based on 4 hours and 17 minutes of video footage, audio recordings from multiple devices, and testimony from the 3 survivors. This is the most complete documentation of an encounter with the Blackridge predator that exists, and it shows us exactly what we're dealing with. The footage starts at the trailhead, 4 people in hiking gear, carrying heavy packs with equipment. Jordan Mitchell, team leader, 32, experienced outdoorsman, addresses the camera. Okay, we're starting the hike. Weather's supposed to turn around 3 p.m. Our goal is to reach mile 9, set up monitoring equipment, and document any anomalous activity. We've got comms, GPS, and emergency protocols in place. This is a research expedition, not ghost hunting. We're approaching this scientifically. The team is confident, professional. They're joking as they hike, making small talk. Rebecca Chen is quieter than the others. She keeps glancing into the tree line. At one point, timestamp 1:23 p.m., Sarah Park asks her if she's okay. Rebecca's response, barely audible. I just want to know what happened to her. I need to know. The first 3 miles are uneventful. They're documenting everything. Trail conditions, wildlife, weather patterns, taking readings on handheld devices, marking GPS coordinates. At mile marker 3, they stop for water. Check equipment. Everything functioning normally. Michael Torres is the team's tech specialist. He checks the audio recorders. All devices recording. Batteries full. No interference. We're good to go. They continue hiking. At 2:34 p.m., they reach mile marker 6. Jordan calls for another equipment check. Everything's still functioning. But Rebecca's camera catches something the others don't notice. In the background, while the team is checking their gear, you can see the temperature display on Michael's handheld device. It reads 58 degrees Fahrenheit. 30 seconds later, when they start hiking again, Rebecca's camera pans past the same device. It reads 52 degrees. 6 degrees dropped in half a minute. Nobody noticed. The team reaches mile marker 7 at 2:51 p.m. This is where multiple witnesses reported feeling watched, where temperature anomalies occur, where the predator's territory begins. Jordan calls for a full stop. Equipment check, thermal readings. Michael sets up the thermal camera, scanning the tree line. Temperature's dropping fast, he says. We're at 49 degrees now. That's a 9-degree drop in less than 20 minutes. Sarah Park is checking the audio equipment. She stops, looks at the display. That's weird. I'm getting readings on frequencies below normal range. Infrasound, maybe? Jordan examines the display. Can you isolate it? Sarah adjusts the equipment. It's faint, rhythmic, pulsing every few seconds. Rebecca's camera shows her stepping away from the group, looking into the forest. Her audio picks up her whisper. Sarah, are you here? Can you hear me? Then the rain begins. Light at first, just a drizzle. But within 30 seconds, it intensifies. Michael checks his watch. 3:07 p.m., right on schedule. Jordan makes a decision. We continue. Stay close. Comms on. Anything unusual, we document and reassess. They start hiking toward mile marker 8. Nobody sees what Rebecca's camera captures at 3:09 p.m. In the background, far back on the trail behind them, at the edge of the camera's field of view, a figure steps onto the trail. Tall, motionless, watching them walk away. It stands there for 7 seconds. Then it's gone. The team is halfway between markers 7 and 8 when Sarah Park stops walking. Did anyone else hear that? The group stops, listens. Michael. Hear what? Sarah. Tapping. Like on the trees. It was rhythmic. Jordan. Could be rain hitting hollow bark, or a woodpecker. Sarah. In the rain? They listen for 30 seconds. Nothing but rain. Jordan decides to continue. At 3:24 p.m., the tapping starts again. This time, everyone hears it. The footage shows all 4 of them stopping, turning toward the sound. It's coming from the right side of the trail, maybe 40 yards into the trees. Tap, 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 tap. Pattern. Repeating. Michael raises the thermal camera, scans the tree line. I'm not getting anything. No heat signature. Rebecca. How is that possible? Michael. I don't know. Either nothing's there or... Sarah. Or what? Michael. Or it's the same temperature as the environment. Cold-blooded maybe. Or... The tapping stops. Jordan. We document this. Mark the location. Audio's recording, right? Sarah confirms. Everything's recording. They start moving again. Slower now. More cautious. At 3:31 p.m., Rebecca stops. Her camera is pointed into the trees on the left side of the trail. Rebecca. There's someone standing in the trees. The group turns, follows her line of sight. 40 yards away, partially obscured by tree trunks and underbrush. Something is standing motionless. The footage from multiple cameras captures it from different angles. It's tall, 8, maybe 9 feet. Elongated proportions, too thin to be human. The posture is wrong, slightly forward-leaning, weight distributed in a way that doesn't match human skeletal structure. And it's completely still. No swaying, no breathing movement, no reaction to the rain, just standing. watching. Jordan whispers, "Nobody move. Michael, thermal scan." Michael raises the camera with shaking hands. "Nothing. I'm not getting a heat signature. It's there. I can see it. But the thermal isn't picking it up." They watch it for 5 minutes. 5 full minutes of footage showing this thing standing motionless in the rain. Then Sarah asks the question that breaks the spell. What if there's more than one? Jordan scans the tree line with his camera. Left, right, behind them. At 3:37 p.m., his camera catches something. Behind them, back toward mile marker 7. Another figure, same height, same proportions, standing on the trail itself. Jordan, there's one behind us. Rebecca pans her camera right. Another figure. This one closer. Maybe 25 yards away. Michael scans left. Another. They're surrounded. Jordan's voice is steady, but you can hear the fear underneath. We're going to continue forward. Stay together. Walk. Don't run. We keep moving toward mile 8. Understood? 3 voices confirm. Rebecca's is barely a whisper. They start walking. The figures don't move. Just watch. The team covers maybe 30 yards. The trail curves slightly right. When they look back, all 4 figures are gone. Michael, where did they? The tapping begins again. But now, it's all around them. Multiple sources, different rhythms, overlapping patterns. Sarah, we need to go back. We need to leave. Now. Jordan, agreed. Turn around. We head back to... On the trail ahead of them, blocking the path back. One of the figures is standing there, 20 feet away. This close, the cameras capture detail. The limbs are segmented, multiple joints. The proportions shift as they watch, elongating, compacting, adjusting. The head is narrow, elongated, no visible eyes, but 6 openings along the sides, dark, hollow, and the smell hits them. Wet earth, decay, organic rot mixed with something sharp, chemical. Rebecca starts crying. Michael is hyperventilating. Sarah grabs Jordan's arm. What do we do? Jordan, we go off trail, cut through the forest, get back to mile 6 and... The figure tilts its head. The movement is fluid, unnatural. The head rotates almost 90 degrees. Then it makes a sound, a low clicking. From those openings on its head, all 6 of them, creating a layered, resonant frequency. The sound hurts. You can hear it in the survivors' reactions. Wincing, hands to ears. Jordan shouts, "Run! Off trail! Now!" The team scatters. What happens next is captured across 4 different cameras and 6 audio recorders. The footage is fragmented, disorienting. But when synced together, it tells a complete and horrifying story. This is what happens when you run from an apex predator in its territory. Jordan's camera shows him crashing through underbrush. The forest is dense. Visibility is maybe 10 feet in the heavy rain. He's shouting, "Stay together! Head downhill! Don't stop!" Behind him, you can hear it clearly in the audio. Multiple impacts. Heavy. Rhythmic. Something landing on the ground. Multiple somethings. Rebecca's camera catches a glimpse as she runs. In the trees above her, moving through the canopy. A figure keeping pace, dropping from branch to branch with impossible speed. She screams. The figure drops to the ground behind her, lands silently despite the height. She doesn't look back, just runs. Sarah's audio recorder picks up the tapping, but now it's faster, aggressive, coming from multiple directions. Tap, 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 tap. Accelerating, like communication, like coordination. Michael's camera shows him veering left, away from the group. Bad decision. Jordan realizes. Michael, wrong way. Come back. Michael's breathing is ragged, panicked. He's not thinking, just running. His camera shows trees, rain, underbrush, Then it shows something massive stepping onto his path ahead. 8 feet tall, maybe 9. The proportions are wrong. Limbs too long, torso too narrow. The segmented joints bending in ways that hurt to watch. The head, elongated, eyeless, turns toward him. Michael stops running, stands frozen. The creature doesn't move, just stands there, 10 feet away. For 5 seconds, nothing happens. Then Michael's training kicks in. He raises his camera, starts recording deliberately. I'm documenting this for evidence. This is real. The creature takes 1 step forward, fluid, deliberate, silent despite its size. Michael takes 1 step back. The creature stops. Michael whispers into the camera. If someone finds this, tell my family I love them. Tell them I... 2 more figures emerge from the trees, left and right, flanking him. Michael's voice breaks. Oh God, no, please, please don't. The creature in front of him tilts its head. Then it makes a sound. Michael's voice, perfect replication. Help me. Someone help me. Michael screams, turns, runs. The camera shows 3 seconds of chaotic movement. Then it hits the ground, still recording. The lens is pointed back the way Michael was running. For 8 seconds, you can see his legs. Running, stumbling. Then something massive enters the frame, moving low, fast, fluid. Michael's legs disappear from frame. His scream cuts off. The camera records for another 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Nothing enters the frame, just rain. And in the audio, wet sounds, dragging. Something heavy being moved through underbrush. Then silence. Jordan, Sarah, and Rebecca are still running. They've lost Michael, lost their bearings. The rain is so heavy they can barely see. Jordan's GPS is malfunctioning. The screen flickers, coordinates jumping. Sarah. Where's Michael? Michael! Jordan, don't shout, don't... The tapping responds, all around them. Closer now. Rebecca sobs. They're playing with us. They're hunting us. Jordan spots something. There, trail marker. If we can reach the trail, they run toward it. The footage shows them breaking through tree line onto the trail. Mile marker, 8.5. They're deeper into the territory than when they scattered. Jordan makes a decision. We run. Full sprint. Don't stop until we hit mile 6. Ready? They start running. For 90 seconds, nothing happens. Just 3 people running desperately through rain. Then Sarah's camera catches it. Movement in the trees paralleling them. Multiple figures, keeping pace effortlessly. Sarah. They're still with us. They're... Something drops onto the trail ahead of them. Lands from the canopy. 20 feet high. Lands in a crouch. Then unfolds. Rising to full height. 8.5 feet. Limbs extending. The segmented joints clicking audibly as they lock into position. The head rotates toward them. Those 6 openings all oriented in their direction. The smell is overwhelming. Rot. Decay. Wet earth. Chemical sharpness. The creature opens what might be a mouth, a vertical slit in the elongated head, and makes that clicking sound. It's joined by others. Multiple sources. The clicking becomes a chorus, layered, rhythmic, coordinated. Rebecca collapses. Can't move. The fear is too much. Sarah grabs her. Get up! Rebecca, get up! Jordan puts himself between the group and the creature. We're not food. We're not food. We're people. We have families. Please. Please just let us. The creature tilts its head. Then it speaks. Sarah Chen's voice. Perfect. Unmistakable. Rebecca. Rebecca, it's me. I'm here. I'm okay. Come closer. Rebecca's scream is primal. Broken. Jordan grabs both of them. Run! Different directions. Confuse them. Go! They scatter again. Jordan goes right. Off trail, into dense forest. Sarah goes left, downhill, sliding, falling, getting up, running. Rebecca goes straight, past the creature, full sprint, not thinking, just fleeing. The creature on the trail doesn't pursue. It stands motionless, watching them separate. Then it makes a different sound, higher pitched, lasting 3 seconds. And from the trees around the trail, other calls answer. They're coordinating, assigning targets, hunting as a pack. Sarah Park made it out at 7:34 p.m., 4 hours after the team scattered. She stumbled into a ranger station 12 miles from where she entered the forest, covered in mud, bleeding from lacerations, in shock. She couldn't speak coherently for 3 days. I interviewed her 6 weeks after the incident. She agreed to meet once, hasn't responded to messages since. This is her testimony. I ran downhill, didn't matter where, just away. The rain was so heavy I couldn't see more than a few feet. I fell, got up, fell again. I heard Michael scream, just once, then nothing. That's when I knew. I knew we'd made a terrible mistake coming here. I don't know how long I ran. 10 minutes, 20. Time didn't make sense. Eventually, I couldn't run anymore. I was at the bottom of a ravine. Water was running everywhere. The rain was cold. I found a hollow log, crawled inside, pulled my knees to my chest and just stopped. I could hear the rain, my heartbeat, my breathing, and I could hear it moving, above me, around me, through the forest. Footsteps, too light, too fast. It walked past my log 3 times. The first time, I held my breath, closed my eyes, prayed it wouldn't find me. The second time, I could hear it stop, right next to the log. I could smell it, that rot smell. Wet earth, decay, sharp chemical underneath. It was so close I could hear its breathing, not like human breathing. Deeper, slower, air moving through those openings in its head. It was smelling the air, testing, hunting. I held my breath until my lungs burned, until I saw spots, until I thought I'd pass out. Finally, it moved on. The third time was the worst. It didn't walk past. It stopped right in front of the log opening. I could see it, through the gap, just part of it. One of those elongated limbs, segmented, bent at angles that don't exist in nature. And I realized it knew I was in there. It knew, and it was deciding. I waited for it to reach in, to pull me out, to kill me. But it didn't. It just stood there, for minutes. Maybe 5, maybe 10. I don't know. Then I heard Jordan's voice, clear, calling from somewhere in the forest. Sarah, Sarah, where are you? I found the trail. Follow my voice. And every instinct in my body told me to answer, to call back, to follow that voice to safety. But I remembered Brandon Cole's footage, the mimicry. That wasn't Jordan. The voice called again, closer now. Sarah, please, I can see the parking lot. We're safe. Come out. Perfect Jordan. His inflection, his desperation, his hope. But Jordan would never call out like that. Jordan knew about the mimicry. Jordan would stay silent. The voice got frustrated. Sarah, why won't you answer? I know you can hear me. Then it changed tactics. My voice. My exact voice. Help me. Someone help me. Please. I'm hurt. I'm bleeding. Please. It was using my voice to try to draw out. Anyone. Anything. Other prey. I bit my hand to keep from making any sound. Bit until I tasted blood. The voices continued for maybe 20 minutes. Jordan, Michael, Rebecca, my own voice. All calling. All begging. All trying to lure someone out. Then silence. I stayed in that log until dawn. Until the rain stopped. Until I couldn't hear anything but birds. When light came, I crawled out. My GPS was dead. My phone was dead. I just picked a direction and walked I walked for hours, following water downhill. Eventually, I hit a Forest Service road. Followed that to the ranger station. They said I was 12 miles from where we entered the forest, 12 miles in the wrong direction. I have no memory of covering that distance. I asked Sarah if she saw Michael after the group scattered. She looked at me for a long moment, then shook her head. I heard him. I heard him scream. Once. That's all. I asked if she thought Michael could have survived. They found his backpack 3 days later. Just his backpack. At mile marker 9. Everything else, everything that would identify him, was gone. I asked Sarah about Rebecca, about Jordan, if she'd spoken to them since. Rebecca won't talk to anyone. She checked into a facility. Last I heard, she won't go outside, won't look at windows, won't be in rooms with more than one door. Jordan moved back east. Delaware, as far from mountains as he could get. He sent me one message. We woke something up. It knows we're watching now. I asked Sarah the question that's haunted me since I started this investigation. What do you think it is? Sarah looked past me, out the window, at the rain that had started falling. I think it's been here longer than we have. I think it owns those mountains in a way we never will. And I think it let me go. Not because I escaped, not because I was smart or lucky. It let me go. The same way you might release a fish that's too small, not worth the effort. Or maybe because I could tell others, could spread the fear, could make people more afraid of the forest. More afraid means more cautious. More cautious means easier to isolate, easier to hunt. We weren't prey that day. We were a lesson. The official report lists Michael Torres as missing, presumed dead due to exposure and hypothermia. His backpack was found at mile marker 9 on October 31st, 2023. The contents: water bottle, energy bars, first aid kit, GPS device. What was missing? His camera, his phone, his identification, and approximately 4 pounds of tissue and bone that should have been attached to the backpack straps. The straps had been severed, not cut, not torn. Severed. With precision. As if something with surgical accuracy had removed everything organic while leaving the synthetic material intact. The medical examiner who reviewed the evidence wrote in her notes, "Removal pattern suggests predatory feeding behavior. Non-human. Possibly multiple entities. Level of precision indicates intelligence and tool use, or highly specialized biological structures." That report was classified. The public report says Michael got lost, succumbed to hypothermia, and his body was likely scattered by scavengers. The trail was not closed. A warning sign was posted at mile marker 6. Proceed with caution. Unstable weather conditions. Stay on marked trail. That's all. 4 people went into those mountains with cutting-edge equipment, detailed knowledge, and careful planning. One of them never came back. And the 3 who survived, they'll never be the same. Sarah Park's final words to me as she stood to leave our interview. Don't go there, please. Don't try to document it. Don't try to prove it exists. It doesn't need to be proven. It just needs to be avoided. And if you do go, if you absolutely have to see for yourself, don't go when it rains. Because when it rains, that's when it hunts. 3 expeditions, dozens of witnesses, hundreds of pages of documentation, and we're still no closer to understanding what hunts on Blackridge Trail. But we do know this: it's real, it's intelligent, it's learning, and it's spreading. Because what I haven't told you yet, what I've been holding back, is what I found when I went there myself. And what I discovered changes everything we think we know about this case.